Welcome to this explainer. Today, we are tackling something absolutely game-changing. We're going to unlock how anyone, and I literally mean anyone, can build their own custom, highly specific apps without knowing a single thing about coding. We're going to explore how mastering the art of guiding AI can totally transform you from a passive consumer of software into an active, empowered creator.
Picture this for a second. Think about a hyper-specific, annoying problem in your day-to-day life. Maybe it's a super unreliable local ferry schedule or a chaotic home maintenance routine that you and your spouse can never quite keep straight. What if you could just wish a solution into existence to solve that exact problem? And what if you could do it without needing to know how to write a single line of code?
Now, this quote from our source material really hits the nail on the head. What it represents is huge. The historical gap between having a real-world problem and having the technical skills to actually solve it is completely gone. For decades, if you wanted software, you had to either learn complex programming languages yourself or wait for some massive tech company to build an app for millions of people. But today, that power has shifted directly to you.
Okay, let's take a quick look at our roadmap for today. We'll be covering the era of personal software, the 5 shapes of software, the plain English rule, 4 files for control, demystifying tech jargon, and finally, how to start building your wish. Let's dive right in.
Section 1. The era of personal software, turning a wish into an app. Look, personal software is fundamentally different from the commercial apps you download every day. It's tiny, it's highly useful, and it's built for exactly one person, you. Our source highlights this brilliant anecdote about a guy in Amsterdam who built a €200 ferry tracker using public radio signals and a Raspberry Pi. Why? Literally just so he wouldn't miss his boat because of a bad timetable. It's not some fancy mass-market app, but it perfectly fits his life in a way commercial software never, ever could.
Section 2. 5 shapes of software, mapping your idea. So, before you just start throwing ideas at an AI coding agent, we need to take a step back. You need to define the Disney-style wish for your software to figure out its basic technical shape. Ask yourself, what is the before state and what is the after?
You essentially have 5 main options here: local tools, web apps, native phone apps, background services, and hardware projects. Now, the absolutely crucial point here is that for most personal software, you should strongly default to a simple web app. Using a hosted builder like Lovable makes this incredibly easy. You really should only move to a native phone app if you absolutely need deep phone features like Bluetooth, or a hardware project if you need to interact with the physical world, like using a sensor. Always keep it simple first.
Section 3. The plain English rule, avoiding the trap. Now pay close attention, because this is arguably the single most important part of this entire explainer. We really need to talk about why these AI agents desperately require plain English. When you use AI, it has this dangerous tendency to make quiet, unexplainable assumptions simply because it lacks real-world context about your life. It might hook you up to an expensive database or accidentally make your private data public, just because you didn't explicitly tell it not to. We have to set firm boundaries.
To stop your project from going entirely off the rails, we have to completely ditch what's known as vibe coding. Vibe coding is when you're just guessing at magic prompts, letting the AI agent run wild, and allowing critical decisions to just get buried in lines of code you don't understand. Instead, we are shifting to guided building. In guided building, you're the captain steering the ship. You provide durable context files, and most importantly, you demand absolute plain English clarity from your crew, which is the AI. And that brings us to the golden rule. You must demand that your coding agent stop speaking agent speak. Whenever it hits a crossroads about cost, data storage, or privacy, you have to force it to explain those options in ordinary English before it writes any code. Why does this matter so much? Because AI agents are completely blind to your real-world constraints. Left to their own devices, they will optimize for pure code efficiency and default to overly complex developer tools unless you force them to explain their logic in a language you can actually oversee.
Section 4. 4 files for control, anchoring the agent. So how do we actually practically enforce this plain English rule? You do it by changing the role the agent plays. You're going to give it 4 small text files that ground it firmly in your reality.
Let's walk through these 4 simple markdown files. First, you have project.md. This tells the AI who the app is for, the before and after state, and your specific privacy needs. Second, decisions.md. This is where the AI is forced to record its plain English rationale for any technical choice it makes. Third is scenarios.md, which lists the real-world test cases your app has to handle. And finally, agents.md. This one dictates the rules of behavior.
explicitly instructing the AI that it must explain itself to you. This whole system gives the AI durable context and locks it into plain English, so it never wanders off track.
Section 5. Tech Jargon Demystified. Knowing the vocabulary. Now, to successfully demand plain English from your AI, you need a basic understanding of what a few core technical terms actually mean. You definitely don't need a computer science degree, but you do need the vocabulary to hold the AI accountable.
Let's start with database. A database isn't some scary, abstract void floating in the cloud somewhere. It is literally just the place that remembers structured information. If you're building an app to manage your house, the database is just the thing keeping track of your appliance model numbers or the dates you last serviced the AC unit. That's it. It's just a digital filing cabinet. Next up, when the AI starts bringing up security, you need to know the difference here. Authentication is just your login. It simply answers the question, who are you? Authorization, on the other hand, answers, what are you allowed to see? Authorization is that vital rule ensuring your household absolutely cannot read another household's private records if they happen to be using the same app.
Then we have the host. Your host is basically just the computer keeping things running so you can actually access your software. This could be an easy, all-in-one service like Lovable, a dedicated platform like Versal, or it could literally just be a tiny physical box like a Raspberry Pi sitting right there on a desk in your living room.
And finally, deployment. I know, it sounds super intimidating, but deployment often just means hitting a publish button to give the intended person access to the tool. There is a catch though. You must always ensure you have a preview version to test first before you replace the real, live version that you're actively using.
Section 6. Start building your wish. Taking the wheel. All right, now that you've got the basic vocabulary and the framework for keeping your AI in check, let's talk about your very first hour of taking the wheel.
Use these steps as your go-to checklist to safely kick off your project. Write down the exact wish. Describe the before and after clearly. Pick the simplest software shape. And remember, strongly default to a web app. Demand those plain English explanations we spend so much time on. And crucially, keep your API keys and passwords entirely out of your visible code or chat transcripts. Protecting your secrets and forcing plain English are your two absolute best defenses against an AI making a disastrous assumption.
Now, if you're feeling a bit stuck on which initial tools to pick, treat this as your personal cheat sheet. Lovable or Bolt are fantastic for an easy web app. Supabase is perfect if you care about moving your data around later on. SQLite is amazing for a local database right on your own machine. And GitHub is your absolute go-to for keeping a safe history of your project.
0. That is the exact number of bugs the source host's 9-year-old daughter claimed her brand new app had. But here's the kicker. She discovered this after doing exactly 0 minutes of testing. The lesson here is that you must test your actual scenarios yourself. You simply cannot just ask the AI if the app works, because the AI will happily pat itself on the back and tell you it's perfect. You have to open the app yourself, click the buttons, upload the photo, and see if it actually behaves the way you want it to. And with that, we've reached the end of our explainer. You have the map, you know where the traps are, and you know exactly how and why to demand plain English from your AI builder. I want to leave you with this final thought. It's time to finally take control. Use this blueprint, stop waiting for someone else to build it for you, and ask yourself, what is that hyper-specific piece of software you have wanted for years because nothing you can buy quite fits? Go out there, command your AI, and build the app that will make your life undeniably better. Thanks so much for joining me today.